Hi everyone, this is Mindy Egan for lawnfawn, and in today's video, we are creating an I Heart Pandas platform pop-up. Some of the products I'm using today is the stamp set To My Fungi, I Heart Pandas add-on, I Heart Pandas. For stencils, I have the Grassy stencil and the Mountainside stencil. And then for dies, I have the platform pop-up add-on and the original platform pop-up. To stamp out my images, I'm going to be using my Stamp Wheel 2.0. It has a sticky mat in the bottom, so it's going to hold my cardstock in place while I do my stamping. And I have a lot of images to stamp, so I'm going to do them in sections. I place the images down for the pandas. I have a couple butterflies in the rock, and I picked it up with my plate, and then I'm going to flip that over, ink it up with the Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, and then stamp that down. I'll clean those images off with my stamp chamois, and then I'm going to line up some of the bamboo trees for the background. And I do stamp a lot of those trees off on another piece of cardstock as well because I want to have a lot of these in my background to help build up the scene. So again, just using the jet black ink. And then at the very top, I'm going to be adding the mushrooms. So I left just enough room to add those little guys up in the top. Because I used a jet black ink, you can color these in with any of your alcohol markers, but today I am going to be using the coordinating stencils. And a detail blending brush is going to be really handy here. Now I'm also bringing out a different sticky mat. This is actually a larger 9 by 12 sticky mat. It's exactly the same type of sticky mat that was in the stamp wheel, but this one is bigger and it also is very well loved. I'm going to try and keep my other one as clean as possible, leaving it in my stamp wheel, and this one I can just make a total mess on. You're also going to see that I'm bringing in that extra sheet of bamboo trees or bamboo stalks that I had stamped out. So I'm kind of doing two at one. I really do love that that sticky mat is helping hold my stencils in place while I do my ink blending. And for colors, I'm using a variety of greens. I believe I used some Minty Fresh, maybe some sage leaf, artichoke, cilantro, and I really don't have a rhyme or reason. I pull out my drawer of mini ink cubes and I just kind of start grabbing some greens or whatever happens to be closest. For butterflies, I picked out a teal blue. I think that one happens to be merman, and I'm just gonna make it easy on myself and do all the butterflies in blue. Then I'm going to move on to the rock that one of my pandas is going to be laying on. I started out with a light gray ink. I think it was manatee. And then I came in with hippo, which is a shade darker, and added a little bit of shading on the sides. Now, for the stems of my mushrooms, I'm using pizza crust and I'm really keeping the darker shade of it or the darkest parts of it onto one side of the mushroom to help add that shadowing. And then for the mushroom tops, there's two pieces to the mushroom top. I did this first one, the larger piece of it in lobster ink. And then I'm going to come in with what I was looking at as more of a highlight area with guava. But my guava was not really showing the significance between the two. So I lined my stencil back up and just came in heavier handed with the lobster ink. Then I can move on to my pandas. And for this, I believe I'm using jellyfish ink. I did it really light-handed, just doing maybe a little shadowing on one side of the panda. This could also be easily done with an alcohol marker, just maybe outlining the white areas, just to give it a little bit of shadowing. Finishing off with my last panda that's laying down, and then I'm gonna come in with an R22, no, R21 marker, and I'm adding little circles to give them some rosy cheeks. I'll then take the coordinating dies for each of the images, line them up, and hold them in place with Post-it tape, and then run them through my die cut machine and also the second sheet that I have. So all of these pieces I'm going to set on the side and work on my platform pop-up. So I'm using the original and also the add-on. The add-on, I mainly wanted that backer piece, which you see here. I die cut everything out of 80-pound white cardstock. We have that backer piece, three pieces of grass, and then you're going to need two of those platform pop-up bases, and then your three T shapes. Before I do any assembly, I want to add stencils and color to a lot of my pieces. So I'm grabbing the three grass pieces and I'm starting out with Minty Fresh ink on the top of the grass. And then I will come in with cilantro and add that to the bottom. I'm not exactly sure how much I was going to see of the two different colors, but I like to add it just in case. You could also just die cut these from colored cardstock, but I like to have the color variation. Now for our backer piece, I am taking a little bit of repositionable tape and placing it on the back, and that's going to stick down to my work surface. Now I'm going to bring in the grassy stencil. So I lined it up so I have just a little bit of grass at the bottom of that. This is going to help kind of build my scene. I'm holding the stencil down with some really pretty Christmas tree washi tape, and I'm going to start with cilantro ink blending on the stencil, and then working my way onto the cardstock, and that will help eliminate any harsh lines. So I removed the stencil and I just kind of shifted it down, and I'm lining up those grass pieces so that I can mask off my grass. I'm going to bring in the mountain stencil and place that over the top, lining that up and then holding that down with some washi tape as well. And for my mountains, I'm going to go with Moonstone ink, and I'm keeping this all really light-handed. I wanted this to be more of an airy feeling. I didn't want it to be heavily saturated in color. So just really light-handed, going over the tops of the mountainside, kind of just barely coming down to the grass. And moonstone is one of those tricky colors where it doesn't look like you have a lot of color down, but once you remove the stencil, you realize how much color actually was applied. It's a gorgeous color. And then I'm going to shift my mountain stencil down, hold that down again with that washi tape, and come in with merman ink. So I'm starting on the stencil again, working my way up just to add a little bit of blue to the skies. So that is my background piece to help set the scene. And then I'm going to bring in my platform pop-up pieces. I didn't want it to be stark white and I really didn't want cardstock. So I'm masking off parts of the platform pop-up wherever there could be adhesive. And I'm going to add a light layer of cilantro ink. I'm purposely masking off some of those areas because adhesive does not like to stick to wet ink. So I purposely masked off those areas when I was ink blending. I'm taking that background piece, the add-on with the mountains, and I'm going to fold along all of those score lines. There's two of them there, and then reinforcing that fold with my bone folder. I'm also going to go along both of my platform pop-up pieces and fold along those edges as well, making sure to reinforce those folds with that bone folder so that they are nice and crisp. You have all of your folds to create the box, and then you also have a couple tabs. So there's one at the top and there's one at the side. I will repeat this step for the other piece for my platform pop-up as well. Now to build our base. So I'm taking two of those T pieces. There is actually a score line at the bottom of that. So I'm going to fold along that score line, and we are going to add some double-sided tape. So I flip those over and I'm adding the 1/4 inch double-sided tape to each of those tabs. I like to take my bone folder and just kind of burnish that double-sided tape so it sticks really well to the cardstock. Then we're going to take our platform pop-up piece. So this, I'm going to go ahead and add my double-sided adhesive to first. There's that tab at the top and then the tab at the side. And then I'm going to flip this over so it's showing the white, which is going to be the inside of our box. And I'm folding this over so I just have the tab and then that one piece there. We're sliding the T shape through the slot, and we're going to have it so that tab on that T shape is going to fold down. So I removed the double-sided adhesive, pressed that down, and now we're going to work on our other piece. So we're going to remove the backing from that other strip of double-sided adhesive, kind of fold that up and over and tuck that tab down. So now we have our main piece, and I'm going to show you that once again. This is a little bit more sped up, but it's going to be the exact same process. We are going to just slide that T through the slot, have our tab facing down so we can secure that in place, and then fold this up again with the tab tucked under. And that's going to complete our two pieces for the base. Now you're going to take your other T and trim off that's underneath that score line. And we are going to add double-sided tape to that main middle piece of your T. Remove the backing of that. And then you're going to place this in just one side, doesn't matter which one, and just make sure that your T is lined up with the other two that you have. Now on the other side, I'm applying that 1/4 inch double-sided tape, and then we are going to start putting this all together. So I removed the backing for that tab that's going to go along the side. We butt those two up next to each other and fold the tab over. Remove the backing of the double-sided tape for the other tab on the side and also the middle. And then we're going to fold this over. So your two bottom pieces are going to line up. fold your tab in to secure that in place. And now everything is connected and you have your main platform pop-up base. Before I do any more adhering, I'm going to stamp a sentiment in the center of that background piece that I created. In hindsight, I probably would have just decorated this and put the sentiment on the front of the box. I'll show you where when I get to that point, but I thought I was just doing a good step ahead of time. I'm taking the 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape and placing that down on the bottom of the back of that add-on piece. And then I'm going to come over it with a light wash of color. I can now work on starting to decorate my platform. So I flipped over my grass pieces and I'm adding some of that double-sided tape to the back of them right down towards the bottom on all three of these pieces. Then I'm going to take my platform pop-up and I found it easiest to actually push it so it is up above the baseline. And I added my grass there right on top of those T pieces that we had placed in there. Now, the one that's further in the back, that one was easier to do, just kind of having it standing upright like this. But now I have my three grass pieces in there to kind of help set the scene for the pandas. And now I can work on creating with my pandas. So I have that adorable panda that is on that rock. He's going to go in the very front because he's a little bit lower or sitting down, laying down. He's going to be lower than the other ones. So he needs to go in front. And the rest of them, I'm going to have one on the right and one on the left. One of them here, I went ahead and attached right to one of the bamboo stalks. And then the other one, I will attach right to the grass piece and then put the bamboo stalk behind the grass. It really doesn't matter which way you do it. Just have fun decorating with all of those bamboo stalks. And if something just doesn't quite fit or it seems a little big, you can always trim them down to make them smaller. So I have the main stage set for the platform pop up, and now I'm going to bring in that background. And I'm also going to add some of those bamboo stalks to the background, making sure not to cover up my sentiment. I'm also going to bring in the butterflies and have them flying around the sentiment. Again, this looks really cute. And actually, when the platform pop up is kind of folded down, you can see the sentiment really, really well. But when I pop it up, I kind of lose the sentiment, which is where I second guessed and thought if I were to make this again, or if you're going to make this, I would suggest putting the sentiment on the front of the box. So I removed the backing of that double sided tape that is on that add on piece and tucked it in to the back of my platform pop up. Now, here is where I would have added the sentiment. I decorated it with the mushrooms, which is super cute. And you could still keep these mushrooms for maybe by the panda bears or even on the side. But I would put the sentiment where those mushrooms are. That I think would be a better place for that sentiment to go. So, as you can see, I was just trimming off any excess pieces that happen to be hanging off the edge. Everything folds up really nice. And one last finishing touch I did was just coming in and adding highlights to the bamboo, the mushroom, and the pandas using my white gel pen. I knew that these pandas and those bamboo stalks would make an adorable platform pop-up card, and I was absolutely right. The back looks fairly consistent with my light ink blending just to give it a little bit of color, and you can see how it just pops up into this sweet little scene. When it's folded down, I love how some of the pandas are just kind of slightly peeking out. It is super cute. And again, like I said, that sentiment would probably be best on the front, but it still looks really cute here folded up. You can see where that message is clear as day. I love how the platform pop up can work for so many different sets and so many occasions, and of course, worked perfect with the I Heart Pandas. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Really loved creating with this set, and I want to just thank you all so much for joining me today.